All right, good morning. It's wonderful to be sharing with you in your country at this conference. Tony introduced my wife last night, but it's so great to have her here with me. This is the first time in 3 years we've been by ourselves, and so this is like a second honeymoon, so we're absolutely delighted, and it's beautiful. I don't know if you can go to the next slide there. We've got 3 wonderful children. I don't know if that picture is a great picture, but my oldest daughter, Catherine, I asked her the other day, I said, what do you want to be when you're older? And she said to me, number 1, she wants to be an Olympic swimmer. She's a good swimmer. Number 2, she wants to head up the FBI. And then number 3, she wants to be a professional dancer. So that sums up Catherine. Alexander, well, he's just like me, absolutely caring and delightful and all those type of things. And no, he's got the looks of his mom. Not that he looks like his mom, but he's very, very good looking. And he's got the brains of his mom as well. So, and then Rebecca, well, she's 3, and all I can sum up in one word, she's the fragrance of the Lord, but she's a little tiger, absolute little tiger. I've been asked to just share a little bit about our organization and different things that have been happening. But just quickly to say this by way of introduction, this is within my context within South Africa, and I don't for 1 minute think I can understand what's going in your context, but there are some kingdom principles that I think I'll share with you. And the second thing, I've actually just asked the Holy Spirit just to give me an ability this morning to inspire you. Mark, thanks so much for that foundation. It was really awesome, and I think I just want to inspire you with some stories that will encourage you and shift something in you to believe what is possible and what can happen. If I was to kind of title this, I would call it Giving Your Sandwiches to Jesus. Okay, that's how I title this. And this is the only little Bible reference you're going to get from me. And but it's the story when Jesus multiplied the bread. And this is the South African translation, so you probably won't get this translation here in Amsterdam. But I kind of picture it like this. There's a story in the Gospels where the disciple asked the little boy to give his bread. And I like going back a few hours before that day. And the little boy wakes up, and he's going to go visit his friend. And his mom says, well, I'm going to make you your favorite sandwich. Okay, so cheese, it definitely wasn't ham, but think of your favorite sandwich. And so what he does, he gets on his bike, and off he goes. And he sees this big crowd, and so he gets off. He's heard about Jesus, and he just stays there. Next minute, it's lunchtime, and he's hungry. And the disciple comes to him and says, I want your sandwich. And the little boy says, not in your life. This is my favorite sandwich. This is ham, cheese, avocado. No way. And the disciple looks at him and says, but Jesus wants it. And the boy thinks for a minute, and he says, okay, I'll give it to you. You know the story of what happened. That little boy learned 2 things that day. What you keep to yourself blesses you. But what you put into the hands of Jesus, He multiplies. What I want to do is share with you a little bit about our organization, and that's going to be done through a DVD. I want to share with you quickly about the story of the president and just a few things around that and talk about a few principles. So the couple who gave their sandwiches to Jesus, it was in 1998, if we can go to the next slide, a couple called Brian and Jerry Duplessis. They'd been saved for about 6 months. Listen to this. They hadn't been on an Alpha course, although I love Alpha course. They hadn't been to Bible school. In fact, they knew absolutely nothing. They just had a passion in their heart to go and serve a community. So after taking early retirement in their 50s, they hooked up their caravan, traveled around South Africa, not knowing where they were going, who they were going to, but they just wanted to go serve. And they landed up in a place called Hoek in South Africa. And Mark, Hoek is a place that not many people would want to go to. They broke into an abandoned milk factory, and they lived in, I don't know if you've got the picture of the caravan there, if you've already seen that. They lived in that abandoned milk factory in that caravan for the first 4 years. In Hoek, there was an unemployment rate of about 90%, incredible HIV, but yet at the same time, amidst this poverty and these challenges, there was incredible resources in the land and the people that just needed to be unlocked through practical service and this wonderful message of the kingdom. Initially, as they went out in those early days, they started farming projects, but initially they went out village to village, just preaching the gospel. I don't know how they did that because they didn't really know the gospel very well. But they went out and they saw miracles and they just had an incredible time. But with their background, they felt they wanted to do something practically as well. And I use this statement is that many times we give people hope for eternity, but what people were asking for was hope for today, food on their table and jobs. And the story has developed and grown, and I'd like you just to watch this DVD. And I just want to say this. You've heard Mark. Now you're going to hear James Scholes, who heads up Rooftop Productions, and he put this DVD together. It's absolutely awesome. Enjoy it.
Ndingubulelwa Matshikisa. Ndizalelwe eDikeni. Ndihlala beQoqo. Sizelwe sibathathu apha ekhaya, and then mna ndingoyena uhlala nabo abazali bam. Esiyakholwa kuba ndingene ngo-2005 ndiye ndazibona ndiphumelela.
COTN started in 1998 with Brian and Jerry Duplessis, who came to Case Karma Hook. The mission of COTN is poverty alleviation, coming alongside communities, establishing projects and helping communities to grow stronger. And that's our passion. COTN means we believe. It's an important name because a lot of people in these communities have absolutely no hope, and we believe in them.
We came here to have a look. We felt God had called us to do something, and this was just one of the areas that a door had opened.
When we arrived, there was an 87% unemployment, extremely high HIV rates, and we decided that we had better try and do something about that, and that was our first step.
Babengabathembi ncam abahlali, abanye babahlali. And then thina sama ke sabathemba kuba sinentwethi iprogram le baza nayo sizawo siyinxalenye yayo.
What attracted me to them was the heart for the people. They were not like the outsiders. They took themselves as part of the community.
They make a steering committee formed by all the villages so that they can address the issues of our areas in all the localities.
Whatever we're doing, we're trying to be transparent about it so that everyone can be part of it.
We have a number of different programs. We have early childhood development. We have about 30 creches. We do leadership and entrepreneurial development. We have a bee project. A lot of farming takes place in the communities. We have essential oils where we grow rose geranium and we bring that biomass back to the distillation plant. And we do a lot of life skills program, computer sensor, financial life skills. It's a very diverse type of program, but our heart is people, and wherever we can get into contact with them and help them, that's what we do. A project at the moment that's having a great impact is called Community Work Program. And Community Work Program targets the poorest of the poor, the most marginalized in communities. Instead of giving a grant or a handout, it gives a community a predictable number of days of work. It's a job opportunity. The community decide on the type of projects that they're going to do, and it's very varied. And in this community, we have about 1,700 participants on that program. Training is critical for us, and in education, we feel that's part of the key. We've established a technical centre where we have a welding centre, engineering hand skills, we're training plumbers, and we feel this is a critical part in the community.
Esiyakholwa ndifike ndaphangela emasimini ndihlakulele rose geranium. Ndafunda khona ke ndaziqhelanisa nekhompyutha. Ngoku ndisebenza as i-wage clerk esiyakholwa ku-CWP.
It's one of the stories that really shows that people, when they are given a chance, can make a difference, because for her, she was unemployed then, of which through the mentoring and giving her a chance, you'll find that now she's running the MIS on her own, and also is involved in different programs.
Kodwa ngomuntu yakwazi ukuma, yakwazi uthetha phakathi kwabantu abaninzi, nto leyo ndandingenayo. Kuba xa kunamhlanje ndikule ndawo ndikuyo, and then ndiyakwazi ukuma, ndingakwazi uyimela ikhampani.
To make a living, to have a plate on your table, Usiakholwa is making that difference, and I give them a good salute because Usiakholwa has made a difference in our areas.
We have a model that's working here, and in the last year we have seen incredible expansion.
Because of the good work that the community have done, the government awarded us with more sites. So now we've got 6 sites, and we've got now plus minus 5,000 participants in all those different sites.
I think at the end of the day, what really has made the impact has been this thing called servant leadership. And servant leadership says it's not how you can fulfill our vision, it's how we can come alongside and fulfill your vision. And I think just that heart and that passion and that love for the community is really what has made Siyakowa successful.
Umnqweno wam ngoba ngomakakhulu Siyakholwa akwazi ubanceda abantu. Kwicala loba ebanika izakhono ne-essential trainings okuyaziqhuba kulapho abantu bawuphela bekhula khona.
I'm going to move, thank you, I'm going to move quickly and just shift a little bit just to the visit of the President. And I share this story with you just to see what God does. The Lord gave us as an organization a prophetic word over our lives a few years ago. And the word, I'm not going to go into it just because of time this morning, but the word evolved and it grew. Initially, the word, I think, was for me, where the Lord said, it's my time. And then it went to the organization, where you saw that little poem that went up there, and it said, it's our time. And then the Lord got hold of my wife and spoke to my wife, and last year, January, basically just said, it's time. And it was incredible. It was almost like God just lifted something off us as an organization. We started just coming into this favor, and it's based on the foundation of Brian and Jerry over many years of serving. But we came into this incredible favor, and if we go to the next slide, last year, if you can just keep moving, last year in September, we were privileged to have Tony and Marilyn and Keith and Shelley come and visit us at our site in Case Hook, and I just knew in my heart that God was going to do something significant. I just knew with the prophetic word and just that God was going to do something. And they came, we had a wonderful time. Anyway, the following week, we were doing some training. And there's a picture, there's that picture. We were doing some training. We were training about 100 people in farming God's way and how to do compost and vegetable gardens and so on. And a big group of people came into our shed, and we carried on training. I was a little bit irritated because they were interrupting our time there. They went into the boardroom. Brian and Jerry just shared with them, and a few hours later, they left. And I went over to Jerry, who's the project director of Siyakowa, and I said, what was that about? And she said to me, no, they're talking about the president of the country coming to your site. And I was like, oh, great, fantastic, wonderful, you know. Politicians, they make promises. Anyway, and that's really how we looked at it. It is quite a political program that we run. But anyway, the next week, on the Monday, we had the president's top security man arrive and about 30 people. And we realized that this was going to happen. And I wish I just had the time to run through some of the things, the build-up. If you could just keep running through a lot of those slides. We had hundreds and hundreds of people leading up to this event of coming and looking and seeing what was happening and taking place. The day before the president was arrived, we got the program. And we weren't quite sure what we were going to do. And we basically had about 45 minutes with the president and different ministers to take them around to our projects and what we're doing. The day was an incredible, incredible day. We had about 4,000 people there. And it was just a significant thing that happened to us and what took place. What I want to do, And in South Africa, I shared actually something from the president where he just talked about COTN and just the model site and so on, but I don't have time to do that this morning. Very quickly, just a few things that I've learned and I've journeyed through as I've started to think about this, some principles. And I'd like you just to think about it. The first one, it's about God's glory and His story. As things are shifting, as we're seeing this more and more, as kings are coming, as sons and daughters are being sown into these different areas, we need to stay humble. We need to know they're coming to Christ. It's His story, and it's His plan. And we need to keep very, very humble. The second thing I put down here, there's no model or formula. I come out of a church in Leadershift in South Africa that's very different, but yet has been a launching pad for incredible things in our nation. But if you came to our church, and I'm not there anymore on a Sunday, I don't think you'd be very impressed, okay? And I don't say that negatively. I'm just letting, it would probably be better to go to church up the road, because you probably get a better worship band and better things there. And many times, I've looked at our church in Leadershift, I've looked at COTN, and I've said, Lord, how have you actually done this? We've kind of got two philosophies, and being part of the Macaris cluster and aligning, I'm not sure, Tony, you can correct me if I'm right with this, but in Leadershift, these are two philosophies. You never know, have a go. Okay, that's the first one. That's why they sent Brian and Jerry out after 6 months. And the second one is what I call pantheology. Many years ago, we were studying what we call the constituents of man. Is man a three-part being, trichotomy? Is man a two-part being, dichotomy? We would argue, we would fight. I can't believe we used to do those things. If you still did, it's great. But anyway, so Craig Rowe comes up with this statement, and he says, I believe in panchotomy. So like we're waiting for this great revelation, and he says, it will all just pan out at the end of the day. That's kind of our theology, but I think the point that I'm making here is this. What we're seeing on the earth today, you're not going to get in a textbook, you're not going to get into a Bible school. You're not going to see that. And I think the dangers we have in our nation is that we want to adopt a formula and a model, and we want to copy that. It's different today what God's doing. The second thing is the planting of the seed of the gospel. I think we've started to get a good understanding of the mountains, a good understanding that as sons and daughters, we into these domains of society we're influencing. But one of the things I am sensing is that we're losing a little bit of where does the church fit in? What's the role and the function of the church? And I don't want to talk into that, but things are shifting, and I have sensed that we're losing a little bit of that understanding. But particularly for us as an NGO, we can get very caught up in doing the good works, doing the painting, doing the schools. And if I could share with you some of the things that we're doing, it is incredible. But where do we get this line between the works and the planting of the seed of the gospel? I'm not sure if we can go to this next picture. I love this picture because there's the president of our country. There's a guy called Grant Dryden from Bountiful Grains, the Minister of Agriculture. A whole variety of people are there. And what Grant's doing, he's receiving the kings, but he's pointing them, if you look at the next picture, to a field. And in the Farming God's Way principles, on the right is what we call farming God's way. And it wasn't harvest time, so you can't really see the difference. But there's a picture, an image of the ways of the kingdom, the principles of the kingdom. On the left side is what we call conventional farming, the ways of man's thinking. And what I believe that we need to do is that as we receive kings, as we're launched out into these different things, and I'm sure as we'll hear Mike today as well, we've got to find that balance of planting the seed of the gospel into communities. And it's not an either or, and it's a tension that we face, but we've got to wrestle those things. But it's about inviting people to come and see, taste, and touch the kingdom of God. Quickly, the importance of alignment. I felt in my heart today, I wanted to honor the AST here today. I really wanted to honor each one of you. Some I know very well, some I don't know that well. But I watch and I look. I just felt in my heart, I wanted to honor you guys for who you are and what you do. alignment has been critical for us as we have started to journey this thing, as we've been almost gone over the radar now, and we're seen. It's been so important to align ourselves with Tony in Maryland and Craig in South Africa. It's been absolutely critical. And I want to encourage you this morning. If you're not aligned, and that's not about control, it's just about having that alignment, getting those parts and pieces together, because that's what's brought a lot of life. How many more minutes do I have? 10. Okay, quickly. Am I doing okay? This one, I think, is important. Something that I've observed over the last while. I'm sensing at the moment, as we look at the body of Christ, there's an unusual and intensified opposition and attack on Christians. I'm not wanting to demonize everything. Sometimes things that happen to us are our own bad choices and mistakes. But in South Africa, the people that I know, there's just an intensity of this. A few weeks ago, I felt like I nearly died. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with a thing called carpal tunnel. It's not very serious. It's just pains that I get in my hand when I sleep, and a thing called restless leg syndrome. And a number of months ago, it started to deteriorate, and I went to a neurosurgeon, and he did an MRI scan of my neck down. And he couldn't find anything, and he said, listen, not sure what's happening here, but it looks fine. 2 days later, 2 o'clock in the morning, I started going paralyzed from this side down in my body. It was a terrifying thing. I rushed back to that neurosurgeon. He did a brain scan, couldn't find anything. Thought, right, he says, you need to go to a physician. I can't help you. That next night, again, early hours of the morning, woke up, intensity pain, paralyzed, can hardly walk. Eventually, they hospitalized me. And I went for an MRI brain scan. And I was there in the hospital, and we're human as well. I had fear, I have to be honest with you. What's wrong with me? Is there something critical here? And had this MRI brain scan, and just before the physician came in, this man walks into the hospital, into our ward. He looks at me, looks around. He says to me, are you a believer? I said, yes. He says, I want to pray for you. Lays his hands on me, and there was this very unusual anointing. Looks at me again, says, I'll see you one day in glory, brother, and walks out. 5 minutes later, I'm getting really scared, okay? When he says, I'll see you one day in glory, I said, well, I hope it's not today. The physician walks in like 6 minutes later, and she gets the scans, and she says, I'm just going to go out and have a look. The Lord, a few days later, when I was going through this paralysis and all this stuff that's happening to my body, gave me a psalm. And when you're going through stuff, that's what I love about the Psalms. David was real with the Lord, wasn't he? He was really real. And the Lord gave me 2 things in this psalm. One is that I'm going to walk, and the emphasis was on walk. I was so happy about that. Amongst lions and snakes. And the other thing, I was going to give you long life. And as she went out, I quickly opened the scripture, and I was reading, oh, Lord, thank you. Everything's going to be fine. She walks in, and I was scared. And she smiled. She says, Greg, I can't find anything. I must say, it was a big relief, and we started talking things through. I'm going to cut a long story short. 2 things I've learned from this. And honestly, if I went into that story with you, I felt like I was going to die. 2 things the Lord said to me. Greg, balance. I had no balance in my life. I was taking on the world. And this is the thing, as we get involved in these things, we think we're the answer. We're not the answer. Balance in my life. I had no balance. And the other thing the Lord said to me, the ordered house. Not just spiritually. Am I taking time for myself? Am I taking time for my family? Am I taking time with my body? It was a massive wake-up call. And then the last thing, and I'm going to show a video in closing. You're going to be touched by this video. It's about the servant heart. Brian and Jerry, I want to go back to that picture of the caravan. Jerry started, when she got saved, cleaning toilets in a little church called Mildersdrift. If you had to meet Brian and Jerry today, they have the most generous servant hearts you'll ever come across in your life. I'm going to put a video on now, which I think will encourage you today. A few years ago, I got involved in some church planting. And I met a girl there called Lebo. And the one day, I took her home. She lived in what we call a squatter camp, a very, very poor area. And when I got to her house, she lived in a little shack. A family of 5. The father had left them. A bed, 2 of them slept on the bed, 3 on the floor, no electricity, no water. And she had to walk about 1 kilometer to get water, but yet the most incredible person and just her attitude. And I remember leaving there and just thinking something broke inside my heart. Something just broke deep inside. And we started a little group at her house. And we'd get a little candlelight. There were 20. We'd meet around. We'd just start sowing the seed of the gospel. We'd do practical things. Anyway, we managed through our connections to get her into a university called Monash University. And we'd put in her DNA that you've got to go and make disciples as well. She did a bridging program. She got into a degree program. If you knew the background of her school, it was horrific. And anyway, she started a group at the university where they started sowing back into the school that she went to, and she brought these kids back to the university and started this program. Anyway, she's currently now finishing her degree, and she won an award a few months ago. It's called the Laureate Award, where they flew her to Miami. And I want you to watch this video. You're going to be so inspired.
Being a student in an informal settlement is a challenge. You don't have electricity, you don't have access to internet, but you still have the same deadlines as other people who come from communities where they can do their assignments better. Growing up, I had many challenges in my life, from my dad becoming sick and not being part of our lives, and my mom losing her job. I didn't think it would be possible for me to get to university. I thought you were born in a family where there's no education. Be realistic, you cannot be educated. But I've been blessed to have a mother like my mom. She was like, you are greater than your situation. I really want you to go to school. I know it can be possible.
I used to tell her that, my child, I'm poor. But for you to drop the school, it's not what I want. By you working hard at the school, you give me strength. You make me work harder. And she said, okay, Mom, if you said so, I will. I will go for you. I said, please do this for me. If it's not for you, do it for me.
Labo represents the types of students that we're trying to reach through Laureate International Universities. The vision of Monash South Africa is to impact lives through higher education. We have students from nearly 60 countries around the world, and Laureate's mission of Here for Good has had such resonance on this campus. Our students are innately great leaders. They are hopeful, they're ambitious, and I think they're going to change the world.
I've been at Monash South Africa for 4 years now, and currently I'm doing my final year in psychology. I've been working with community engagement ever since I joined Monash.
Okay guys, thank you for coming. We are going to talk about previous Saturday. We have kids that are showing some improvement.
Yeah. Tomorrow Starts Today is a Saturday school where Labo is directly working with 9th grade students at a critical point in their academic development. And these are students who typically do not have access to quality education.
You cannot drive social change through education in a place like this where people don't believe in the power of education. You need to first change their mindset. That's exactly what I'm trying to do right now. When I started the program, Monash was really supportive. We wanted it to be on campus where kids can have a university experience and be stimulated to want to be in a place like that.
Welcome to our 4th week of Tomorrow Starts Today. We're going to play a game now. Girls are going to be on that side, and then boys are going to be this side. River, bang. River, bang. Bang. You out. You out.
A lot of our students, they don't have the right support structures around them. They don't have adults that they can trust. Mostly they get negative feedback from their parents. So because of that, teaching and learning cannot happen in a good way. Today we're trying to bridge that gap between learning and psychological issues that hinder the learning process.
River. So the boys are good.
It's different from regular schools because in regular schools, you don't get an opportunity to express your feelings.
It gives me courage tomorrow starts today to see my goals and to reach my goals, to reach my future. I need to start now.
She has actually encouraged me a lot into helping people now. I have this energy in me that I feel that I can go out there and change the world.
Lebo is one of now 1 million students in the Laureate Network who've worked hard and have achieved so much academically, but are still connected to the community. Many students' lives have been transformed because of the access they've had to quality education. Their lives have been changed, their families' lives have been changed, and their communities have also been transformed. This is what we're trying to do. This is why we're here for good.
I have faced challenges in my life, and I think through that, I am also a living testimony of how access to education empowers and enables, how giving your time to other people to change their circumstance can be a major change, not just to their lives, but then to their communities as a whole.
Lebu, my child, now that I said that, I think you are my hero. I'm seeing a hero. I thank God for you. I always did. Okay.
I think a lot of other kids need a mom like you, and since you cannot reach out to so many kids, I'm gonna be that hand, and that's all because of you. For every child to prosper in life, they need at least one adult who's irrationally committed to their lives. Although I don't know what tomorrow holds for these young people, I certainly know that there's great people out there who are waiting to help to make the world a better place to be.
I'm closing with this, but can I just say that the lady that did the script for that was Hillary Clinton's scribewriter. She came with one of the top video guys. She was flown to Miami with some of the top educators in the world. I think she met with Bill Clinton, different people. Could I ever have thought just a simple thing of just loving and caring, what could happen? I want to finish with this. We had this beautiful prophetic word, it's time. My father passed away last year, December. I was devastated. And as we did the memorial service and I was going back to East London, I asked my daughter, we were at a shop, and I said, would you just pick up a diary for me? She picks up this diary, and this is my prayer over you today. I'm not asking you your story will be like this, but find the passion. Find what's in your heart. The moment is now. She picked up this diary. She just gave it to me. And this is what it says. The moment is now. Not tomorrow or yesterday or someday. Right here, right now. This is your moment.